and welcome to another exciting episode of Unconventional Ministry. I am your cordial host, Ron Stafford. So glad to have you there on the other side of your listening device. Hope you've been able to catch a few of the episodes recently. Again, if you have not been able to do that, log on to sat7usa.org. Click on the podcast tab there at the top of the homepage. It'll take you right to where you can listen to past programs. You can also support Sat7 with your prayers and financial giving there as well. Dennis Weens put me in contact with a great gentleman by the name of Clint Hall. Clint is the director of church relations for the Sending Project. This is a huge, big-time undertaking, and believe me, this is of the Lord's work, and they are doing some phenomenal stuff. Of course, I'm talking about all the work they're doing in Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, and just around that main region. Clint, good to have you on the program, sir. Thank you for the time today.
Great being with you, Ron.
Dennis tells me you have a background as both a former pastor and a missionary pastor. Would you talk about that, if you would, please?
I'm the retired lead pastor of my church here in Kansas City. And 6 years ago, I joined the Sending Project, which is all about building missional awareness and community and collaboration among a diversity of churches. And what that really means is having been a pastor for so many years, I know how pastors have to be focused on their own church, but we did 30 events last year to get pastors and mission leaders together in Kansas City so they could meet each other, find out what's going on in Kansas City and what those churches are doing around the world out of Kansas.
Right.
We also hope that as a result of that, the churches might collaborate and say, is there something we could do together? And we probably got 250 churches in Kansas City on our network.
Wow.
And an example of that collaboration is we have 5 churches that over the last 7 years have partnered with a church planting organization in India to start 700 rural churches in India.
Wow.
So that's just an example of what collaboration can do around the world. And there's many other examples of what can happen in the city. And the ministry right now, of course, is with missions with the Sending Project.
Right, exactly. Take me back to the initial part when you guys were coming up with this idea. Was this, obviously God had his hand in this the whole time. Was this something that you're like, I don't know if we can do this. This is too big for us, but not too big for God. Just take me back to those first days of the Sending Project.
Yeah, I wasn't there when Sending Project started, but about 5 years in, I was ready to start my own mission organization to do the very thing Sending Project's doing. And another lead pastor put me in touch with the director who had been with Youth for Christ for 21 years. And I met with him in a 1-hour meeting, turned into a 3-hour meeting. And about 4 months after shadowing him and attending meetings, I joined the Sending Project 6 years ago and have been working with him. And it's just a vision for seeing unity among churches in the city around mission and realizing that we're better together. Churches are tackling issues in the city and around the world, and for a way we can do this together and really go at it as united churches. And it's been an incredible journey, and we've seen incredible progress as a result.
That's wonderful. I want to take us back to the phrase you said, better together. Dennis gave me the link for the vision portion of the website for the Sending Project. We'll give that to our listeners in just a moment. The graphic that you all have there about the vision, it's sort of a pyramid idea. Talk about that for our listeners. Give our listeners a visual picture of what the vision is all about with the Sending Project.
We like to view ourselves as a neutral convener. We don't ask pastors to do something for us. We go to pastors and say, what can we do for you to encourage you in your ministry? But this pyramid, when we came up with it in 2015, it was kind of like this was our vision of what we wanted to see accomplished in conjunction with the cities in Kansas City. And one of them, to begin, is we realized you're not going to see movement without some really essential elements, and one of them is Bible engagement. And so we have a goal of 1 million people in the Scriptures in Kansas City by 2020 and beyond. In other words, a 2020 vision is just a clear vision. You aren't going to see people engaged in kingdom work without knowing what the King says about it. And so we have partnered with Biblica and the American Bible Society to see Bible engagement in our city. And then secondly, after Bible engagement, the Bible calls us to prayer. And we have a goal of 100,000 intercessors in Kansas City praying missionally for our city and around the world. And then The third element is 10,000 followers of Jesus living out their God-given mission, where people literally can go on our website or on one of our apps and say, I am on call, and this is my calling to live out missionally my life here in Kansas City and beyond. And those are just three of the elements. And, of course, at the very top of that is the ultimate focus, which is one, God receiving all the glory.
Exactly.
But it's been quite an adventure to see things happen.
Absolutely fantastic. What's the website for the Sending Project, if you can give that to our listeners?
Thesendingproject.org would take you there, and then it would list all the other websites that we have, like Around the Kansas City Bible Experience and Saturate KC and all these other efforts. But thesendingproject.org would get people right to our main site.
Excellent. And there's ways listed there that listeners can help support the Sending Project even in their own community?
Yes, absolutely. One of the initiatives that came out of the prayer force is called Love KC, and it's a very exciting ministry tied to Bless Every Home, which is a huge prayer engagement ministry where people can literally pray for their neighbors every day. That's worth going to the site to find out about blesseveryhome.com. We want to engage every neighborhood in Kansas City, 21,000 neighborhoods, with someone in that neighborhood praying for that neighborhood on a daily basis, and we're well on our way to seeing that happen.
That's wonderful. Dennis tells me you made a little bit of a trip to the Turk studio for Sat7 overseas. Talk about that trip and what you learned from that.
My wife and I traveled to the Middle East for 3 weeks in March, and I'd met with Dennis before that, and he'd spoken at a missions meeting we had, and he was sharing about update on Sat7, and I knew I was going to end up in Istanbul at the end of the trip, and I said, Dennis, would you give me the contact information for the Sat7 studio? And so we corresponded in March, about the 20th or 19th of March, we were in the Sat7 studio in Istanbul.
Wow.
And it was amazing. Of course, when he told me about it before the trip, I said, this is a place I want to visit. And what they're doing there, the reach of that station to Turkish listeners all over Europe and the North Africa and the Middle East is incredible. And we got to be in the studio to see some of the programming going on. And, of course, the Turkish government just a few years ago issued them a license, a 10-year license for Christian broadcasting, which is just, as I was talking with the director there and he was sharing his story, that's just unheard of. It's a God thing. That's absolutely a God thing.
Absolutely.
And so it was just something to visit them. What a great place and what great work is going on out of Istanbul.
Fantastic. Would you mind closing out our time together, Clint, with a brief word of prayer, and then we'll give that website again for the Sending Project. Would you mind doing that for me, friend?
Lord, thank you for what Sat7 is doing, not only in the States, but around the world. And God, we just pray that you would continue to reach out with the hope of the gospel to every place that station reaches. And Lord, thank you for Dennis and for the ministry, and we just pray you bless it and cause it to continue to reach to the unreached peoples in Christ's name.
Thank you so much. Again, that is Clint Hall, Director of Church Relations with the Sending Project. One more time, the website for the Sending Project, Clint?
Thesendingproject.org.
Excellent. Clint Hall, thank you so much for the time today. Greatly appreciate it. Learned a lot. And again, that's going to do it for me, Ron Stafford, thanking you as always for being right there. And remember, only with God's strength and God's help, you can make it a great day and an even better tomorrow. We'll chat again next time. We live in a changing world that offers more ways than ever to minister to others. Sat7 has changed the paradigm, redefined partnership, and overcome historic obstacles in the distribution of the gospel message, all while harnessing the power of cutting-edge technology. We beam age-old biblical truth through attractive and creatively produced programs into living rooms, web streaming to websites, and apps on smart devices across the Middle East and North Africa. And Sat7 allows the church in the Middle East and North Africa to make their claim to a biblical Christianity in a culturally relevant, appropriate, and positive way. Partner with us today. Visit us online at sat7usa.org. That's sat7usa.org. Or call us at 866-744-7287. That's 744 7287.